Hello everyone, my name is Ronald. I was born a blind boy. As the doctors told me, I have a congenital pathology that can only be saved by a cornea transplant. Roughly speaking, the not working part of the cornea must be replaced by a donor transplant. At first, my parents tried to find a donor, but it was not so easy. There are too few donors and too many doers, people like me. For years, we advertised, wrote on the internet and held fundraisers. Imagine, even for people with money, not everything is solved by money alone. My mother stayed at home because of me. My father worked, though we lived richly. I didn't need anything. Despite my disability, I was richly blind and still suffered. At first, I thought it was the norm, like that's the way it is. Everyone sees that way. Like me, that is no way. Because of my lack of sight, I developed my other senses perfectly, like hearing and taste buds worked. Over the years, I learned to easily identify foods by smell and taste. I didn't know what they looked like, but I knew their shape, taste, and smell well. Occasionally, I would have a malfunction in my body, just like that day. I was on my way to the bathroom to take a shower, but I felt sick, dizzy, and short of breath. This used to happen apparently because of a defect in the body. Everything worked differently. We supported other organs with medications, but they were still not working as they should. Tachycardia attacks and headaches, especially in the temporal area. All these things brought terrible discomfort. My mother took it all too hard, so I decided to go to the hospital to save her even more trouble. My mum booked a VIP room for me. I'd never been in another room before, so I didn't know what to compare it to. There, everything was set up for me, with constant monitoring and excellent food. My mother went home and I was left alone to read books in Braille, specially ordered for me. I read quickly. I got bored. I decided to take a walk down the corridor. Judging by my talking wristwatch, it was well past midnight, but I could not sleep. I wanted a Coke from the vending machine, so I took the bodies down to the 3rd floor. I found the machine and threw a coin in, but the can fell out and rolled away. "Shit!" I said loudly. "I have it. Raise your voice so I can find you," a beautiful female voice said to me. "Who are you?" "My name is Sandy, a patient in the hospital." "Oh, give me a Coke, Sandy." "Here, I think that's you." She started groping my hand in such a way that it made me feel uncomfortable. I took the can away and stepped back. "Don't worry, I won't eat it," she said. "Why are you groping me so vigorously?" I asked embarrassedly. She laughed and said she could easily guess what kind of person is like just by touching them. I said, "Are you blind?" And she said to me, "As you can see though, you can't see either." "Yeah, very funny. How did you know that? Is it written on my hand?" "You can't lift the can yourself. You can't see that I'm blind either. And besides, I fumbled with your cane." I was quiet. Then I said I had to go to my room. But she kept asking me where I was from. "Which room?" "I never noticed you before," she said. And I said, "You bet you didn't." Sandy laughed again. "No, you know what I mean. Are you on another floor?" she asked. I replied so rudely that it was none of her business and went towards the elevator. A couple of hours later, I woke up to a noise in the hallway. I heard a cane, her cane. I went to meet her and she tripped over my foot. I held her down. We got to talking again. She said she couldn't sleep. We sat down in my room on the sofas and chatted. It turned out that she had been here a long time. She hurt her eyes a few years ago by accident. She was babysitting in the same house, and a kid spilled a substance in her face that he grabbed from her mother's lap. It didn't get on him, but Sandy lost her sight. She, like me, was waiting her turn for a donor. We were almost there, but having found one donor, the next one might wait a year, 3, 5. It was unknown. Sandy was escorted out by a nurse almost in the morning when I noticed her. She came in every day and I acted so rude. I didn't like her invading my personal space so easily and unscrupulously. True, one night she took me outside while the nurses were sleeping. "I bet you've never ridden a bike," she told me. "Have you ever ridden?" I asked her in response, to which she told me, "Sure, and blind." She put me on the bike, and I resisted with all my might, but Sandy made me ride a few yards. I can't remember the last time I had so much fun. I was having fun. Every day since when we had done something, got a doctor's note for our behaviour, but something had changed in me. I wasn't the nerd and bore that I used to be. Her ringing laughter pleased me. "Ouch!" she suddenly yelled, and I got worried, but she said she was fine, just scratched with her bike. I said that the wound would need to be treated, that she was so hurt because of me, but she turned it into a joke, and then she was gone. She didn't come in all day, so I went down to see her for myself. "Oh, look who's here," she said to me from the doorway. I said, "You're scaring me, see?" And she said, I can hear your footsteps. I recognize them from dozens." I sat down next to her and asked what was wrong, and she told me that she was sick. Her eyes were inflamed. She kept silent about the cause, but she was getting worse every day. After 4 days, I was not allowed to see her. She had pneumonia. No one answered my question about Sandy. Then I just stood around the corner and overheard her parents talking. They were told that she had been out for a walk at night and probably got too cold. Plus, Sandy reported that she had a scratch on her arm from a bike and got a little infection. I stood outside her room all day and all night. She didn't call my name. From the nurse's conversation, I heard that she had to have eye surgery right away, or it would be too late. She gets sick a lot. I went up to my room, and then my mother came in. She was very happy and said they had found a donor for me. I wasn't even happy. My mother said she would quickly get everything ready and come to me. I wanted to tell Sandy about it. I went in to see her. She didn't have anyone. I sat down next to her and she came to her senses, talking quietly. "Hey, you're not allowed in here. Go away, my eyes are tired of seeing you." "Even now you're kidding," I told her. She was silent. I could hear her smiling. "Sandy, you need a donor right away," I said. And she said to me, "It's okay, you'll find one. I asked the doc, you finally got one. I wanted to give you a hug and congratulate you. Sorry, come see me after surgery," she said. Sandy immediately fell asleep. Her mum came into the room and I met her. She was crying so hard, saying that she had been looking for a donor for 6 years and they couldn't find one. "They found one, didn't they?" I told her. "How? What do you mean they found one? When?" "Just now." I gave the paperwork for a donor, went to the head doctor himself and signed a waiver of surgery. I was at an age when I could make my own choices. Sandy was rushed to the operating room and I went to my room. 10 minutes later, my mum came in furious. She yelled at me, "How dare you? We've waited our whole lives for this day. How could you give a donor to some girl?" she yelled. I blurted out, "It was because of me. She got worse because of me, Mum. I couldn't watch her die. There are people for whom surgery is vital. She has seen this world and her body can no longer function otherwise. I haven't seen it. I was born blind and I live with it. At least I'm not dying. Also, Mum, she's the first person who's ever interacted with me, who entertained me like a clown. You know how I can't stand IVs, you know? You left me in the hospital for days and didn't visit me. And Sandy was there for me. And she calmed me down. I don't blame you, Mum. Just let me make my own choices for once in my life. All my life I've been deprived of that," I shouted. Mum was silent. She was crying, but I was happy to do at least something for Sandy. The operation had been a success. She came to her senses after the anesthesia. I was the first person she wanted to talk to. Sandy tapped me on the shoulder, wanted to cry, but couldn't. I laughed and told her it was all in advance, and that she would have to ride my bike when we both got out of here. It's been 5 years since then. I still haven't found a donor, but Sandy is there for me. She is my faithful friend who is always there for me, who rides my bike, rides my car, eats all kinds of goodies with me, comes to visit every day and reads me books. And you know what? I'm happy.
Hi everyone, I'm Gloria, and I have a special gift that I want to share with you now. You'll probably think I'm superhuman, and it will be partly true, because my eyes are not quite normal. The thing is, I've been blind since birth, but I can see more than the sighted. In short, about everything in order, I'll start the story for now, and don't forget to like my story, subscribe to the channel, and write your opinion in the comments. I will be grateful. Well, let's go. As I said, I was born a blind girl. No one knows why this happened. My mother and father are healthy. My mother obediently showed up to the doctor every month, passed tests and so on. They were very much waiting for me because I am their only child and welcomed. However, my parents were already aged. When I was born, my mother was already 46 years old. It was risky to have children at that age, but what could she do if she and father had only found each other then? My mother told me that when I was born, everything was normal. For the first 2 days, I slept and hardly woke up, and then the doctor noticed that I reacted strangely to light, in any way. All my other reflexes worked, but my eyes didn't. I was checked by doctors all over the department, and my mother was already worried because nothing had been explained to her yet. And when it became clear after the results of tests and a consultation of doctors, they came to my mother's room and said that her child was blind. This was a blow to my elderly parents. They were confused and had no idea what to do now. Time passed, and soon they accepted it. They were taught how to take care of their blind daughter, set up the house, and made everything comfortable for me. And then I was 1 year old, and my mother began to notice some strange things. I watched my mother, how she went from room to room, how she came to me. I screamed and cried when I saw her leave the room where I was sitting. At first, she thought I could hear her footsteps, but then she and Dad started experimenting. They walked on tiptoe and noticed that I still seemed to notice them with my eyes. And when my dad brought home my first toy and handed it to me, and then moved it to another corner and I went to it, they realized that I could still see. It was incredible, because in the hospital, all the doctors unanimously assured them that I was blind, that my eyes were not responding. But at the same time, I looked at the doctors, saw their faces. I saw a window, a door, and I went there. I really liked the sunlight, and my eyes longed to look at the sun. My gift became a sensation in the medical field. Many doctors invited me to their homes for free, just to study, look, feel. At first, my parents were willing to drive here and there, but then they got tired, just like me. Then I learned how to talk, and I asked my mom and dad to give it up and let me stay at home. Around the age of 4 to 5, people around me got used to me. My mom and dad bought me special sunglasses so people wouldn't notice my eyes, so no one would ever guess I was blind. But I don't see everything. Some details remain invisible. I saw more silhouettes, energy, and sometimes colors. I also had something that scared my mother. It was only as I got older that I realized what my pictures meant. The fact is that each person had their own color, and it burned next to their heart. Well, how can I explain it to you? It's a kind of soul. Each had its own color. For example, if it was dark, then the person is old, and he will soon die or he is very ill. If it is yellow or orange, it means that everything is fine with it and it is young. Rather, it is a child or a teenager. This way, I could see through almost everyone, including myself. My mother and father were at first afraid of this discovery, but then they also got used to it and kept it a secret from others. This gift helped me in society. When meeting people, I also felt who was good and who was bad, and I tried to avoid the latter and also protected my parents from them. I even went to a school for the blind. By the way, I was not at all embarrassed by the status of a person with disabilities, because I am no worse than others, and as my mother says, on the contrary, I am special. Since then, many years have passed, and I have learned to live with my gift among others. I've communicated, met people, and everything is fine. My mother made me promise that I would never reveal my secret so that there would be no problems, and I agreed with her. Well, once my friends and I went for a walk. It was a sunny day. I loved to bask in the rays. While my friends went to choose a new perfume, I decided to wait for them on the street on a bench. Suddenly, I felt a negative energy. It was coming fast, very fast. I turned my head and noticed that a man was driving at breakneck speed. He was very bad. I felt that he was not sober. And then I heard that a child was running out to the road. It was a girl of 4 years old. Her mother was talking to someone on the side of the road and did not notice how her daughter was running towards the road. The driver saw the child, but he was so drunk that he couldn't even think to stop. I ran to the side of the road, grabbed the child, and pulled him to myself. The car flew past and didn't stop. His mother screamed all over the street. My glasses fell to the ground, and so did my wand for the blind. I was holding the baby in my arms when my friends came out. All the people froze. The mother took the child and began to thank me, and only then realized that I was blind. I saw the frozen questions on people's faces. They were all scared and shocked. Their energy was telling. I couldn't explain anything, so I said I wanted to go home. My friends didn't say a word on the way. They just took me home, kissed me, and left. I had to tell my mother everything. She praised me for my bravery, but now there was a problem, because now I had witnesses. My girlfriends told everyone else, plus passers-by took everything on camera, so fame was assured the next morning. My parents had to pay a tidy sum to keep it in the local press. They wanted me to live a quiet life. About 6 months later, we decided to move to another city, and the story remained a legend. I had to cut all ties with my friends, and my parents also with their friends, because now we have a new life. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that we're running away from attention, but on the other hand, I'm thinking about how to use my gift correctly. After all, if I saved one life, maybe I can save another. What do you think?